Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee, including those watching online. If the fire alarm is activated, please vacate the offices via the stairs, either through the security door to my right or opposite the lifts in the foyer. Please do not use the lifts. Please assemble in Hawley Square on the green, where officers will assist you and advise when it is deemed safe to return to the chamber. Does anyone intend to film or record audio of the meeting? Thank you. I would advise that speakers using the microphones are often picked up by the cameras recording the meeting, and members of the public in the public gallery behind the speakers in the middle may be picked up by those cameras. Any member of the public who objects to the possibility of being filmed may wish to take this opportunity to move. I'm not sure there's a lot of space to move, or leave the meeting. We do have recording as well as the council recording, so I would advise that if filming takes place, anyone in attendance in the public area may have their image captured, and I urge anyone filming proceedings to avoid filming members of the public, particularly if there are children present. Would everyone present please ensure that their mobile phones are turned to silent and that they are not used to make or receive phone calls or messages in the chamber whilst this meeting is in progress. I have the following members who wish to speak under Council Procedure Rule 20.1. Item 5A, AO1, Councillor Munns speaking on behalf of Councillor Smith. Item 5E, RO5, Councillor Packman, and I have also been advised of Councillor Yates. Item 5F, DO6, Councillor Huxley. Would any other member who wishes to speak under Council Procedure Rule 20.1 please announce it now? The following applications have been reserved for public speaking. Item 5A, land between 44 and 46 Monkston Road, Minster. Item 5E, Victorian Shelter, Marine Drive, Margate. And item 5F, 4A, Broad Street, Ramsgate. At this point, I will announce that there will be a slight change in the order of the items to be discussed, and item 5E will be heard ahead of item 5A. I have apologies from Councillor Moore, substituted by Councillor Wright. Are there any other apologies? No, thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Thank you. And do members agree that minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on the 17th of July 2024 be approved as a correct record? Do I have a proposer? Councillor Alban, and a seconder? Councillor Rizeki. Do members agree? Thank you. Agenda item 4. This item has been brought back to committee following deferral at a previous meeting and a site visit. The Principal Planning Officer will now outline the report.
Thank you, Chair. Just to remind members then, this is the site number 99 Bosney Road. The proposal is for a extension at roof level to provide a gable to the front and the rear and 2 single-storey rear extensions. This is the application site in this location here. This is a view of the application site, so number 99 is in the centre of this image, number 97 is on the left, and number 101 is on the right-hand side. And then just again a view of those properties with the neighbouring properties, and again of number 101, which has since been recently been extended at roof level. Then just a few more images, just reminding you of a property further down the road, and the proposal is of a similar design to this property. And then these are just some photos that were taken at the site visit. So at the site visit, we went into number 99 and looked from inside the property and into the rear garden. And then this is taken from number 97, the neighbour's property. So this is looking towards the application property, which is this property here. And this is showing the boundary wall that exists between the two properties. We measured the height of the wall at the site visit. The condition that was originally proposed was to retain the existing 2-metre boundary, but it was found at the site visit that the boundary is slightly lower than that, ranging from around 1.6 to 1.9 metres in height. So this was a view taken from the neighbour's kitchen window towards the application site and the boundary wall. This was the view taken from inside their rear conservatory looking towards the application site. So in this location here would be the proposed single-storey rear extension to the rear of the property. And then this view was taken from the rear garden, again looking towards the site. So the rear extension would have been in this location here, and then this again is a more detailed view of the boundary wall. So the application brought before members tonight seeks to amend the condition for the boundary treatment. So rather than the retention of a 2-metre wall, the proposal is for the erection of an increase in height of the boundary treatment to 2.3 metres in height, and this is to reduce overlooking between the two properties. And I'll just show you the plans, just showing what that relates to. So this is the proposed front and rear elevations originally proposed, and these are the original plans, and now this is the proposed elevation. So this is the gable front at first floor level, and then alterations to the materials to show render finish and some tile hanging at the front, and then this is the single story side extension to in this location here, and then this is the side and rear extension in this location here. And then this is existing rear, and then the proposed rear. So this was again the single story extension. So this was where we looked at the impact from this extension on the neighbour. So number 97 would be on the right hand side here. And then this is the existing, it's a proposed rear extension on the left hand side as well, which replaces the existing conservatory. And then just to remind members of the side elevation, so that's the side view with again the gable at roof level to the front and the rear, and then these are the two rear extensions at the back. And then this is the other side elevation. So again, this is the view that we would have seen from the neighbour, number 97. This is the boundary wall in this location here, and the photos that I showed you would have been looking towards this side view of that rear extension. So it shows the eaves level follows through with the existing property, with the roof pitching away from the neighbour. And then just to remind you of the floor plan, so we went inside bedroom 3 and into the living room to look from these windows across to number 97. The proposal is to retain that opening, but to create a new opening in this location here, which would look towards the neighbour, and the windows are being replaced with a door in each of these two locations. And then this is the extension that's projecting out closer to the boundary, onto the boundary with the neighbour. So the concern previously raised by the neighbour was in relation to the internal courtyard area. As we said previously, this is not actually a change of use. This is an area that they could use anyway as a courtyard, but this, in terms of this layout, it potentially could intensify the use of this space, and these windows would face towards the neighbour, so it's felt that the condition that's now proposed for the 2.3 metre high boundary treatment would address these concerns of the neighbours. And then this is just showing the first floor plan, and again just to remind members that there was originally a balcony in this location here, but it's been amended to a balconette, so it's now felt there's no overlooking from this first floor window. So the application is recommended for approval. It's felt it fits in with the character of the area, and the impact on the neighbours is acceptable. So yes, recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. I move that the officer's recommendation is adopted. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Seconded.
Thank you. And speakers, Councillor Alban first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was at the site visit, as was most of the members were. It was beneficial going into number 99 and to meet the residents there. The matter of the courtyard, I think, has just been explained, and anybody could sit out there, whether it's now or whether it was whether the new build is there. There's nothing stopping anybody sitting out in their garden. But the increase in the height of the wall does give them a sense of security, and also possibly block out any sounds that they think that they might actually get. So I haven't got a problem with that. I did have a slight issue in relation to the single story extension on the side, as it does seem rather large and high, but on balance, I think it's totally acceptable. I should be voting for it. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Bayford.
Thank you, Chair. I agree entirely with Councillor Alban's comments about the courtyard. I see no problem with it at all, especially with the increased height of the wall. With regard to the rear extension, clearly from number 99, it can be seen and does partially obscure the view. Do officers feel that this is just a loss of view, or is it also a loss of sunlight? Obviously, the two are viewed differently from planning point of view.
In terms of the block plan, so this was the block plan, so this was number 97 that we visited, and in red here is the single-storey rear extension. So the photos that I've shown showed the kitchen window that was in this location here looking towards the property, and they are mainly in the area looking towards the open courtyard space. So the main impact would, I believe, be from any side windows from their rear conservatory. But with the conservatory, obviously with it being entirely glazed, we would mainly be looking at the impact from any rear windows, and typically how we would assess it would be the 45-degree line, which in this instance would be taken from the centre of that rear conservatory point, and obviously that doesn't fall within that space, and would in the first instance hit the neighbour's outbuilding before it reaches any part of the proposed extension. So yes, whilst the neighbour will see the extension and there will be a higher ridge height in this location here, it's not felt there's any real impact on their light or outlook, because there's no windows in this location here that would be affected in terms of that space, because they already have windows across the rear. Thank you.
Do I have any other speakers? Councillor Kay Bright.
It is just a follow-up question. So I think we're all in pretty much agreement on this one. Where's the difference between a loss of light and a sense of enclosure? Because that was my only slight concern. Again, I'm with Councillor Bayford on the height of that roof. I think I would have liked to have seen it a bit lower, but ultimately it didn't. I couldn't see that it affects light. But what's the deal with enclosure?
I mean, yes, it will create some sense of enclosure. I mean, in terms of the height of it, obviously eaves level, it's similar height to the existing property, and then it starts to hip away. So with sense of enclosure, we wouldn't be significantly concerned with this because the roof is hipping, and so in terms of sense of enclosure, you have to feel that there's some quite high wall right next to you. Again, you'd have to be, it's more from inside the property and how you'd feel looking out as well. And again, we'd be looking more at the rear windows rather than the feeling from the side windows. So in this case, from the conservatory, if they were looking out from the rear, they're not going to get that sense of enclosure from inside that space. Obviously, because they do have side windows, they will see it, but it's again, not significant enough for us to recommend refusal.
Anyone else? Okay, in that case, we will we will now put the motion for the officer's recommendation for approval to the vote. Those in favour, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Surprise. All right. Moving on to agenda item 5. Any site visits will take place for committee members on the morning of Friday the 6th of September 2024. And now on to agenda item 5E, which is an application for refusal, the Victorian Shelter Marine Drive, Margate. I have public speaking first. Speaking in favour of the application, Mr. Ian Maxted. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and members of the committee for giving us the opportunity to meet with you this evening. My name is Ian Maxted. I have 38 years of experience in the licensing trade, and our company, Proud Pink Inns Limited, took over the lease at the end of October 2023, some 10 months ago now. Under our ownership, we have raised the bar on the standard, the cleanliness and maintaining the area in general. We do not seek to play louder music. We seek to play background music for our customers and the visitors to Margate, which come and join us on the terrace. This has been the case, I understand, since 2007. As a new company, we weren't fully aware of the noise created or the disturbance of the former company that shut at the early part of October last year. Both aspects of business and our business model have received a 5-star rating from Food Agency for our drinks and for our restaurant Lafayette's. Our commitment to the community is very strong. We have raised just over £6,000 in this period of time. We've created 14 direct employment roles and indeed employ a security company to provide security for the venue and its customers and local residents as well. We maintain a safe environment for all, and as such we're proud to be a community bar. Producing a vibe which is complementing Margate's up-and-coming seafront. We believe that our entertainment should be inside in the nightclub area, which we have upheld since we took over in October. We have used TENS licences on 3 occasions, most recently for Pride, to give people the opportunity to celebrate on the terrace. It is not our intention to play music above 45 decibels outside. A single speaker is what we're looking to place to give atmosphere for our customers that are enjoying the view and the general ambience of Margate seafront. There are other music venues locally, Dreamland being the largest change from being an amusement park. We all hear Dreamland, no matter where we live in the district. Nobody truly will hear the music from the terrace with our system. Our team of staff are all qualified in various areas and continue to be qualified, growing their education and their knowledge within the trade. They each will take their personal licences over the next 2 years, which will give them the opportunity to develop their own business. Therefore, as a company, it is our interest to see that we provide training and development for everybody in the community and continue growing the business to develop more roles available for people locally to be employed. With regards to the nightclub, we are only open and fully open until 3 a.m, which we're licensed till on a Friday and Saturday. That has not proven any issue to anywhere and is not overly relevant to the situation in hand with regards to playing background music on the terrace. We have hosted weddings and a birthday along with Pride this year, which brought in a huge amount of business to the local community. Hotels and
Excuse
Airbnbs,
me.
restaurants.
You have now hit your 3 minutes. If you could just wrap up, please.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Can you turn your microphone off for me, please? Your microphone. Thank you. Speaking against the application on behalf of Mr. James Reed, I have Mr. Brett Moore.
Thank you, Chair.
You also have 3 minutes. So we'll just remind you that when the bell goes, you have 30 seconds. Thank you.
Noted.
Sorry, when the bell goes, it's over. When the red light comes on, you've got 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm a chartered town planner. I've been practising for more than 2 decades. This evening I speak on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Reed of 3 to 4 Albert Terrace to express their strong objections to this proposal. Their objections relate solely to their reasonable enjoyment of their residential property. Planning permission was granted in 2007 for the change of use of the terrace deck for the siting of tables and chairs. It's essential that members appreciate that the permitted use of the terrace deck was in no way affiliated to the operations of Sundowners, the bar and nightclub on Albert Terrace. On the contrary, its use was to remain as a communal space, accessible by all members of the public and visitors to Margate. It's equally as important to members to appreciate that at the time the 2007 application was under consideration, your environmental health officers raised serious concerns regarding the potential for noise and disturbance generated by the proposal. Your planning officers consequently attached 2 development-specific conditions to the permission in order to safeguard residential amenities for occupiers of properties within the adjacent Albert Terrace. Since planning permission was granted, a new local plan has come into force. In spite of this, it's imperative that members appreciate that all current planning policies which seek to protect residential amenities do not differ significantly from those that were enforced in 2007. In fact, it could be argued that safeguarding residential amenities carries even more weight now than it did in 2007. The current application seeks your consent to allow amplified music to be played on the terrace deck for up to 10.5 hours a day, every day, for 7 months of the year. Those residential properties that existed in Albert Terrace in 2007 are still there today. And for that reason alone, it's clear to me that the residential amenities of occupiers of those properties that were afforded protection in 2007 through the imposition of planning conditions should still be protected. Since April 2021, it's understood that your environmental health officers have received 14 separate complaints from occupiers of 9 residential properties in Albert Terrace. Members should be aware that all complaints relate to the unlawful playing of amplified music on the terrace deck. The officer report prepared in connection with the application that is before you tonight notes that your environmental health officers have again expressed strong concerns, and unsurprisingly, your officers do not offer any support for the proposal to allow amplified music to be played at any time. To allow amplified music to be played on the terrace deck for any hours, days or months of the year would quite simply be incompatible with the adjoining residential land uses in Albert Terrace. It would represent an inappropriate, unneighbourly and wholly unacceptable form of development. Notwithstanding any economic benefits which some may consider that varying this condition would bring, I trust that members can appreciate that in line with relevant planning policy at all levels of government, any economic benefits should clearly not be at the expense of residential amenities. It is on this basis that I respectfully invite members to follow your officer's recommendation and refuse this application, given that it is clearly contrary to local plan policies QD03, SE06 and CM01. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Speaking under Council Rule 20.1, Councillor Packman, and again, you have 3 minutes, the same.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members. I'm speaking this evening in strong support for Sundowners' planning application, which seeks approval to play amplified music on Marine Terrace. As a local councillor in Mayor of Margate, I am deeply committed to fostering initiatives that contribute positively to our community's growth and supporting local businesses, just like my colleagues in the Chamber. Sundowners represents a key underrepresented group and has consistently provided a safe space for the LGBTQIA+ community. Since taking ownership, the new management of Sundowners has demonstrated a genuine commitment to the local area. They have taken real ownership of their space, ensuring that both interior and exterior, including the terraced area, are well maintained and consistently clean. Their proactive approach to maintaining the property has already contributed to improving the neighbourhood's appearance and atmosphere, setting a positive example for others. I feel from reading the report, the environmental health team have misunderstood the nature of activities planned for the terraced area of Sundowners. I believe it is essential to clarify that the business's intention is to simply play background music in this outdoor space, which is a common and genuinely well received practice in similar establishments. The owners of Sundowners have been very clear that they do not intend to have loud music or live performances in the terraced area under the current application. They are committed to maintaining a pleasant and unobtrusive atmosphere for both patrons and neighbouring residents. Should they wish to host louder events or live music in the future, they have assured me that they will do responsibly through the appropriate temporary events notices process, which allows for additional oversight and control. The proposed application is more than just a physical improvement. It is a boost to our local economy. Sundowners is positioned to bring in new businesses, create job opportunities and attract visitors to our area, all of which are crucial for the continued economic growth of Margate. The business aligns with our goals of fostering sustainable development while enhancing the experience for our local residents and visitors. I firmly believe that the approval of this planning application will mark a crucial step forward for Margate and its local community, but also for Sundowners, as the operation of the terraced area is a key part of their business to ensure sustainability and contributing to the long-term prosperity of our local area. We must be seen to support independent businesses within our town and prevent any more businesses leaving the area. I urge you to consider the significant benefit of this development will bring and to grant approval for the Sundowners plan application. Thank you.
Thank you. Also speaking under Council Rule 20.1, Councillor Rob Yates, again 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Dear councillors, officers and attendees in the audience, I'm here to show my strong support for the Sundowners planning application for amplified music on the Victorian Terrace. As a former Mayor of Margate and Margate Central Ward Councillor, I've seen firsthand the benefit that this location and business has had to the Margate community. And this is shown in the large attendance in the audience tonight, the vast majority I know who are in support of this application. One of the first events I hosted when I was Mayor of the Margate was a fundraising quiz on the Sundowners Terrace with amplified music, where a drag queen entertained other mayors from across Kent, all in order to raise money for charity. Sundowners is very much at the heart of our community, and the venue and the terrace with amplified music is a regular part of Margate, getting involved in Margate Carnival, Margate Pride, as mentioned, and Mayor of Margate events, including a coronation conga we held on the terrace and then led down the main parade, all in order to celebrate the King's coronation. I've been a ward councillor in Margate Central since 2019, and the use of amplified music by Sundowners on the terrace has only been raised once to me in regards to the quality of some of the karaoke singers. Whereas Dreamland and the noise has received a much larger number of complaints, if I'm honest. In short, the economic benefit of having amplified music outweighs the noise impact on the residential amenities and surrounding neighbours. And I'm very concerned that the Sundowners venue would not be viable without having amplified music on this terrace. And as one of the few dedicated queer-friendly venues in East Kent, this would greatly damage the local economy. Thank you.
Thank you. The Planning Applications Manager will now outline the report.
Thank you, Chair. The application is to vary condition 3 attached to the 2007 application, which was for the use of the terrace deck for the siting of tables and chairs. Specifically, it's to allow amplified music to be played between 11 a.m. and 9:30 daily between the 1st of April and the 31st of October. Currently, the condition states there should be no amplified music on the area itself. So the photo that you can see from Google shows the sort of deck area above the Victorian shelter here in the centre. And then this is one of the plans that was actually in the 2007 application, which shows an idea of what the seating was going to be at that point. And then if I just skip to that one, you can see an isometric view from Google just showing the actual shelter itself and looking back towards Albert Terrace. So the main considerations are the impact on living conditions of neighbouring properties, and also to consider whether or not there are any benefits from allowing amplified music to occur on the area. This is a view from our corporate GIS, just showing the area, so that the buildings in red are the listed buildings around there. We are in the conservation area in Margate as well. Then we have Sundowners itself that you can see in the centre there. So the area in question is off to the left-hand side, and you can see the slope as one of the access points going up to it. So looking back then from the pedestrian footway, looking back towards the area. So a closer up view looking out towards the sea. And then this is actually up on the deck itself, looking at those tables and chairs, positions as they are, and looking back towards Marine Terrace. And then this is on the deck looking towards the properties, the residential properties that you can see here. And this is just showing some of the chairs that have been stacked for obviously use on the terrace. So the main policies to consider for members in terms of living conditions, QDO 3, which is the generic living conditions sort of policy, which states that all development should be compatible with neighbouring buildings, should not lead to unacceptable living conditions through noise. Policy CMO2 looks at improvements to existing community facilities should be permitted, providing they don't significantly impact on the amenity of neighbouring properties. And then policy SE06, which has been raised specifically by environmental health, states that development proposals that generate a significant level of noise must be accompanied by a scheme to mitigate such effects, bearing in mind the nature of surrounding uses. Proposals that would have an unacceptable impact on noise-sensitive areas or uses will not be permitted. So, It is important to consider the fact that to have amplified music on the deck could be considered to have to a sort of increase potential user attraction to the venue, with ensuing sort of tourism and economic benefits. However, obviously you've seen the comments of environmental health in the report, which do raise strong concerns with any music, even at background noise level, on that terrace. There is no sound mitigation at all. It is open. Even if there was mitigation by forms of a structure or a barrier, it will still be open at the top, and also a structure itself would be problematic in the conservation area there as well. Live and recorded music has been considered to cause harm, significant adverse impact on the neighbouring properties, and officers do consider that the quality of life of residents would be demonstrably diminished due to the change in acoustic character if the variation of condition was permitted. And therefore, overall, whilst the benefits of additional usage of the area for music and attraction is acknowledged, this is not considered by officers to outweigh the significant harm to the living conditions of neighbours, and therefore the recommendation is to refuse. Thank you.
Thank you. I move that the officer's recommendation is adopted. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Seconded.
Thank you. And I have Councillor Alban first.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I want to make some comments and then not a proposal, but just something I think that we should consider. For Sundowners to play their music on, albeit at a low level on the sun deck, is their choice. It's your choice whether you have that or not. The residents don't get a choice. They've got to listen to it. And everybody has a right to live in their home without interference, especially from loud music. So I think, and that's for all of us. That's for all of us. We should all have that. Should consent be granted, this condition would stay whether you remain there or you don't. If you leave it, someone else could take over and could be as bad as the previous ones were, even though you might be very, very good. So that's a concern. However, I do think, Chair, that there could be a balance to be struck, and I think that balance to be struck is for the sound level to be at a certain level that our environmental health officers think would be acceptable, and if it's background noise, background music, I should say. If it's background music, then it's something that, if it was me sitting there on those benches up there, I would want to be sitting talking to my mate about his divorce or whatever, and without that music interfering with what I'm talking about. And if that's what you're saying that you want, then I think there is a balance that could be struck by having a restriction on the noise level. And for that restriction to be able to be agreed between yourselves and the council, and also for that therefore to be enforced, should you not do so, should you go over that. So that's my initial views. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to come back in on the suggestion, because we did speak to environmental health about that point. Specifically, their comment does make clear that even at background levels, it's considered that there would be harm to neighbouring properties. There is a practical issue with enforcing a noise limitation, simply because you have lots of background noise, so you have to be able to isolate the noise just from this source. So in terms of actually enforcing accurately a condition, it is very, very difficult from an environmental health perspective. Thank you.
Yes.
If that's the case then, so if you've got a lot of background noise, traffic, etc., so that will then take some of that background music away, that would kind of overpower it, if you not overpower it, but it would all mix in. together. I just think, you know, what I would suggest, because we need to support our businesses, we need to support that, we need to support it for the town and our economy, but also we need to protect our residents. And I still think there's a balance to be done here, because I think what's to stop our officers going down, our environmental health officers going down to sundowners, getting the level of background noise, they can play that and then see what that is. Then I would suggest, or maybe suggest to my colleagues, that this is withdrawn for now, goes back for our officers to go out and measure the noise, and then see whether they would think that that's acceptable, and then come back. But that's no proposal, because others got to speak. Thank you.
Councillor Kay Bright next, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the speakers for your compelling cases. I'm with Councillor Alban on a lot of this. You know, there's no doubt as to the positivity of your business, and you know, there's no doubt in the impact that you have and the safe space you provide. However, again, I pick up on Councillor Alban's point in that, you know, residents don't have a choice. They don't have a choice what they listen to. I've lived through having music of any kind, and it just niggles. It's just there at a background, and I wouldn't want the onus to be put on residents to have to monitor or measure or constantly be toing and froing between the environmental health officers. So really, my thoughts on this hinge on our local plan, because we have a local plan in place. It's absolutely vital for everything that we do in planning, whether we accept proposals or reject proposals. And the case that officers have made in this on this piece, and the parts of the local plan that they use are pretty clear to me. I just think it has an intolerable effect on residents. They've lived through it already, and at whatever level, I think it'll be very, very difficult for them just to get on and live their lives, particularly in a conservation area. So they have no mitigation. They can't go out and get triple glazing or something like that. So I will be happy to well, with a heavy heart maybe, be voting for the officers' recommendations on this one.
Thank you. Councillor Bayford next, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I feel that we should consider the huge benefits of independent businesses to the area, and the employment opportunities that they offer as well. But we also do need to consider and hope to ensure a comfortable lifestyle for our residents. I have no idea of noise measurements. 40 to 45 decibels, can the officers say whether that is a reasonable level for background music? I have no idea.
Thanks. Just to be very clear, I'm not an acoustic consultant or noise specialist either. One thing I would say is that the application has been put forward for, it doesn't specify a level. That's obviously been mentioned this evening. I mean, I would say that the concern of having amplified noise in its purest form, an amp, for example, you're looking at 95 decibels, 100 decibels, you're looking at a significant noise. There is obviously no proposed restriction, and as I mentioned before, there is a concern about how you can accurately discern that this is being breached by this, accepting the point that noise obviously would meld in, but this is, you know, there is going to be different acoustic character at different times in the day. That will obviously, you know, that's not going to be necessarily altered by having, that would be altered by having a unrestricted use at different times in that day for amplified music. I mean, the only comparable I've got is not a comparable, which is it's about aircraft, in fact, from Manson Airport. So I think it's probably not particularly relevant, but they're looking at you know, you're looking at 63 dB contour was being looked at in terms of how it could affect neighbouring properties. Now, obviously, that's got a very different acoustic and vibratory impact, so it's difficult to compare the two. I think the thing is, the environmental health comment is what we've got. It's also looked at, okay, are there any other solutions? Obviously, in terms of what's been mentioned about balance being struck, obviously, the proposal at the moment doesn't specify equipment, for example, but obviously the concern it's very clear from the environmental health comment that even at background level, it's considered because of the openness and because of the fact that it's, the periods of time that it can't be mitigated, that it would be harmful.
Thank you. Councillor Rattigan, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have to agree with my colleagues and with Councillor Alban. I think it's sort of trying to strike a balance. Obviously, the cultural importance of Sundowners, the economic benefits, the community engagement, some sort of sound management, because you're always, you're not living in the countryside. You're always going to have noise there. I've seen people in the little, like the gardens there with their ghetto blasters playing music in there. So you have got noise constantly around there. So I think it's about sort of, trying to find something that works, for the residents, but also allows them to continue what they're doing as well.
Councillor Matterface, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask, we've had the terms background and amplified. Mr. Livingston said he's not an acoustic expert. Is there any difference under SEO 6 between background and amplified? The speaker talked about one speaker at 45 decibels, but we've also heard him talking about background music. Now, background music, sometimes what you get if you're in a restaurant is just there. It's just annoying, but it's just there. But amplified, to me, implies something a lot louder. So it got a problem here because the consent was prohibiting amplified music. So we're talking about music from speakers. And the big problem with that terrace is you can't put any mitigating. There's nothing you can do. It's in the open air. And as my colleagues have said, the people who live in those houses have got no option. 10.5 hours of background or amplified music is a bit different to somebody sitting in the gardens there with a ghetto blaster, which they'd only perhaps be there for a couple of hours. So I'm prepared to listen to other people, but I do have concerns, because when I sat on licensing, we often used to have this kind of thing, people coming for a temporary events notice, and they had to have noise limiting. You can't do noise limiting there. They had to have measurements of the decibels. We can't do that there. So it is quite a problem. I'm waiting to hear what other people have to say. Thank you.
I think, to be clear, I suppose, when reference is made to background noise, it is, in this instance, I think, used as more of a colloquial term, because obviously in terms of specifications of what's background and what's not, it's not a term that I'd necessarily recognise in this instance. Fundamentally, amplified means you are using an amp, there is a speaker. So that speaker could be pumping out huge noise, or it could be pumping out very light noise. And as you say, what we would term background music, like you'd get in a restaurant, whatever it be. Again, so the request is to remove the restriction and allow amplified noise, but doesn't, it's not been put forward to specify what in the application.
Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Chair. Could I get some clarification? So the gentleman speaking in support said it would be 45 decibels. Does anybody in this room know at what point environmental health can take action against a neighbour that has loud music? I can't remember what the decibel level has to be.
I wouldn't say there's necessarily a set level, depending on, again, the audible sort of background noise level without that source of noise, because obviously it's a comparative example that would be done in a statutory nuisance case. You'd look at what the background level is when something isn't operating, and then you'd look at what the change in acoustic performance is when it is actually occurring. I think I appreciate what's been mentioned in terms of this is the noise level that we're looking for. That's not what the proposal is. And in terms of the application, it's been made simply to allow for amplified music within that area. That's what the application that members are considering. In terms of a restriction, if members thought they wanted to approve it and they want to put a condition on saying it should not be more than 45 decibels, what I suppose I'm conveying is Environmental Health have said there are concerns with that because it's going to be incredibly difficult to enforce it, and therefore the impact in any event will still be problematic to neighbours in their view.
Part of my point is it's very difficult to enforce that because there is so much other noise in the area, some of which will be constantly intrusive to the people that live there. This is a beachfront development that sits on a main road that in the summertime is very noisy a lot of the time. I'm with Councillor Alban. We need to go away and there needs to be some tightening up of what the application actually involves. I think 3 or 4 years ago I went to Calais and out of every lamppost background music was being played. It wasn't intrusive to me. Actually, the research was that it stopped a lot of crime in the town. It was classical music that was being played. And I also think that's an incredibly ugly building, and every time I drive past it I think there should be a better use for the underground bit. Maybe if it was covered in and turned into shops it wouldn't be as damaged as much. And I think there's an incredible amount you can do to diffuse the sound by some reasonable planting between the houses on the top side of that development, which would break that noise up. Again, I'm not.
Can you keep quiet in the gallery, please?
Again, I'm not an expert, but this is why I would support a proposal from Councillor Alban for this to go back and for other things to be explored. If, for example, it was to be changed from a single amplifier to noise that would be at ground level, maybe coming up on some sort of system that was more evenly distributed at a lower level around the area, then maybe there would be less of an impact on the surrounding area. So I won't be supporting the officer's decision because I think there's just not enough detail and research into how we can adapt this. And I would like to know what the level at which environmental health would take action, because I do believe there is a level in the 3 or 4 cases that I've been involved with residents and noisy neighbours, where the noisy neighbour just hasn't got anywhere near the level at which environmental health can take action. I also live on the West Cliff in Ramsgate, and I constantly hear noise from the East Cliff, some of the businesses on the other cliff. And we also have Dreamland in the area, and I'm absolutely certain that those people in that conservation area there hear the noise from Dreamland. So I won't be supporting this because I think we need more information, and I would support a proposal from Councillor Alban. Thank you.
Councillor Rattigan.
Just to come back, I just Googling what was that there, sort of comparison. So heavy traffic is 85 decibels.
Hang on a minute.
Sorry, it's really important that we aren't producing information in the chamber that can't be ratified, especially when we've got a comment from Environmental Health. I appreciate the comment and the attempt to give more information to members, but because it can't be ratified, it's important that we don't raise it.
Thank you. Was that it? Okay. Councillor Makinson, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is just a question. Who owns the shelter underneath and therefore owns the roof? Is it a TDC property? Thank you.
Councillor Matterface, please.
I'd like to come back. The actual request is to allow amplified music. There's no specification, it just says amplified. That's the request, is to change the condition to remove the amplifiers. So we would have a situation, if we overturn the recommendation, we'd have to have a new proposal, and we couldn't just leave it at amplified, because you'd obviously have to have some specification of what level, which is what Councillor Alban was referring to.
Councillor Rizeki.
Thank you, Chair. I've listened to the arguments as we've gone around the room, and I'm inclined to agree with Councillor Alban and Councillor Bright. We have got a responsibility to the the neighbours, the people living there, who can't, as we say, put in double glazing, triple glazing, or protect themselves from any excess noise. At the same time, the Sundowners they want to create a better ambience outside on their terrace. Well, that's fine. Again, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't think we have enough information to agree to let that happen. If they went away and re-looked at it and came back, maybe with some figures saying how loud this music's going to be, and give us a comparison, maybe we can look at it again, maybe more favourably on a future application.
Councillor Wing.
Would planning just confirm that in a Grade 2 listed building you are able to put secondary double glazing on the inside of the building, because I believe that is the case.
So secondary glazing, I wouldn't refer to it as double glazing, but secondary glazing with an application would be likely to be installed because it doesn't affect the form of the windows itself. Obviously, it would always be dependent on a case-by-case basis. So part of it might be about how original the windows that are in there are, how significant the internal layout is. Secondary glazing, I think it's difficult to form a sort of general rule. Obviously, double glazing would be a no-no in a listed building when it's single glazed at the moment.
Councillor Alban.
Yeah, just come back, Chair, really. Just on Councillor Wing's just last remark, I would say, if it was me living here, why should I have to put secondary double glazing in? Why should I have to actually do that when it's someone else who's making a problem and not me? But that's just one bit. But I really do think that the applicant should leave here tonight and come back with more information about what he wants to actually do, how he's going to do it, because it's leaving us with. Otherwise, if we were approved this evening, there's no way of it being able to be enforced. You can put it as high as you like. I think that leaves us with a difficulty, but let's see how it goes then.
Councillor Wing.
Just like to come back at Councillor Alban. I wasn't suggesting that those people who live behind should be putting applications in to put double glazing or secondary double glazing in their building. I just didn't like the idea that people were being misled that just because you own a Grade 2 listed building you can't put secondary glazing in, because I know that's not the case.
Okay, apologies for the whispering there. We're just discussing taking the option of me, seconded by the chair, to withdraw the officer's recommendation and replace it with one that would be basically defer and return with gaining more information. But for that, I would hand over to the officer to explain that a bit more and to read out what would be the proposed alternative motion. So if I hand over now.
To give a quick explanation, I think, I've heard from another number of members, we're not quite our normal site visit half-point majority, but a lot of people have stressed the need for more information and a balanced approach being taken. Obviously, the report outlines that there are significant concerns for environmental health. So with regards to any potential more information being given, we would obviously need to be consulting with environmental health further. I think given what's been stated about potential for restrictions on noise, but also about potentially the equipment that might be used, obviously that does allow an element of precision in terms of what the equipment is and what that could generate in terms of the wattage of the speaker and whatever it be. The potential would be to, if the motion that's currently on the table to refuse the application was withdrawn by the chair and then the vice chair, that there would be a potential to move a motion to delegate to officers to seek further submissions from the applicant about the equipment and potential restrictions on noise, with then further comment invited from environmental health, with then that being brought back to members. Obviously, we would, taking account of that information, the comments from environmental health and the information submitted, we would make our recommendation, depending on what that is. But then obviously members would ultimately then make the decision on the basis of that.
Okay, I can see some nodding heads around among the members, so in that case I withdraw the original motion. I would ask the Vice Chair to please second.
Seconded.
And I will ask the officer to read out the actual application. Councillor Orban, did you want to just comment first?
Yeah, all I was going to say was I propose what Mr Livingston has said. Thank you.
Let him read it first, and then we'll do the proposal bit. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, it's as I said, but I'll do it again for clarity. So, delegate to officers seek further submission from the applicant about potential equipment and restrictions on noise, with further comment invited from environmental health, and bring back to members for decision.
So, proposer Councillor Albans, seconded by Councillor Matterface. All those in favour, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Okay, well, look, thank you to everyone in the gallery for your patience and for paying attention as you did. I'm going to take a very short adjournment while everyone gets out and leaves, because I know it's going to take a few minutes to clear. And we'll re-adjourn in a couple of minutes' time. Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone. So we're moving on to, still on agenda item 5, this one is 5A. It's the land between 44 and 46 Monkton Road, Minster. Public speaking, speaking under Council Rule 21. On behalf of Councillor Smith, I have Councillor Munns speaking, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I'm reading a statement on behalf of residents. I've got 2 statements to read out, but we'll see how we go on. A statement from Philip Murray, who states that the front side-facing roof light is only 6 to 7 metres from our main bedroom window, which is a habitable room. Measuring the angle to it horizontally is about 40 degrees. So it is in direct line of sight. Our view is from slightly above horizontal, about 5 to 10 degrees. So we can see more than usual in the shower room, even though it's said that the sill height is 1.8 metres. The front roof light glass is clear and the window is hinged at midpoint, so allowing vertical movement. The roof light is in a shower room and with a shower in the corner facing us through the window. We can see directly into the shower room, so that means the neighbour can see directly into our main bedroom, particularly where the shower is positioned. As guidance, Schedule 2, Part 1, Class C of the Town and Country Planning Act, Order 2015 sets out the rules about what consists of permitted and not permitted developments in England. This states that if the roof light is on a roof slope forming a side elevation of the home, which it is in this case, it must be obscure glazed and not be able to be opened unless the parts of the window which can be opened are more than 1.7 metres above the floor of the room in which the window is installed. Regarding the rear side-facing roof light, this looks towards the side of our house at a distance of about 2 to 3 metres. Again, the glass is clear and the window is hinged at midpoint. Although the view is more restricted, a person could look from the window down on our conservatory, 4 to 5 metres, and rear garden, which are private areas. We requested the Planning Committee to consider the following because of the proximity of the roof lights, their angles of view, clear glass and their hinged opening. To safeguard our privacy and amenity under Thanet Planning Policy QD03, we requested the glass in the 2 side-facing roof lights, facing 44 Monkton Road, is changed to obscure glazed and the extent of their opening is prevented or restricted, so it's not possible to have a direct line of sight when open or closed. That's from Philip Murray. I'll have a statement from Marion now. Regarding the dwelling being occupied, officers visited the site and agreed it had not been yet occupied. But the building appears both furnished and occupied, and it has been the case for over a month. Policy QD03 outlines a new development must not lead to unacceptable living conditions through overlooking. The widened kitchen window within the ground floor of the front elevation. This faces part of the garage in the front garden and Monkton Road beyond. Given its location to the front facade,
It's all right, you may continue. I realise you're reading more than one statement,
So-
and I wasn't aware of that before. Thank you.
it would not create any neighbour amenity issues. 44A is set behind and significantly above 46 Monkton Road and is situated approximately 3 metres from the western boundary. The windows referred to above look directly into the main living room of 46 Monkton Road. The 1.2 metre fence agreed did not obscure this view, and the widening of the window therefore increased the view into the habitable room of 46 Monkton Road, impacting on their privacy significantly. It's quite a long statement, Chair.
Keep going.
The dimensions and position of the previously accepted ground floor side windows and now proposed window and door remain the same. These are at ground floor level, and since the approval of the dwelling and a boundary treatment has been approved. While this is 1.2 metres existing vegetation on both sides of the first, but the majority being within the neighbours at number 46, limits views into their garden, which is at a lower level. I therefore consider that the harmful overlooking would not result. This is a statement from Gillian Dawes. In the application, the elevation referred to the eastern elevation, however, the window door in the question is part of the western elevation, not the eastern. Neighbours' trees and shrubs not subjected to TPOs should not be considered when assessing overlooking. In response to my complaint about this Ashley Jackson stated, "The boundary planting will help to mitigate the perception of overlooking and the view in the summer months, screening the windows from your property. However, they're not relied on for the boundary treatment as it proved to be sufficient. I am sorry for the confusion by the previous response on this point. Anyone leaving the house by the proposed door will face the garden of 46 Monkton Road and have a clear line of sight of the vast majority of the garden and into the back rooms of 46 Monkton Road. Use of this glazing door will increase occupants and visitors walking along the thin stretch of land between property and 46 Monkton Road. As the fence is only 1.2 metres high, they will a clear view of the neighbour's home and garden. The residents of 46 Monkton Road feel greatly impacted by the loss of privacy in their garden and cannot identify any areas that are not now clearly overlooked. This has caused significant impact on the well-being of health of current residents. The use of the glazing as a door further increases the loss of privacy. The original planning stated that privacy of neighbours would be safeguarded, and this is not the case and would be further impacted by the use of this area as a door. End of statement. Thank you.
That's lovely, thank you. That was perfect. It was an extra 2.5 minutes, but you were reading more than one statement. So thank you very much. So the Planning Applications Manager will now outline the report.
Thank you, Chair. So the application in this instance is to vary the plan condition attached to a 2022 application which approved the erection of a detached two-storey dwelling. So the site is between numbers 44 and 46 Monkton Road. It's the sort of wedge that's here. I'll just zoom in a little bit more. Members may recall they saw the application for an outbuilding on this plot. So it's proposed to allow amendments to the design of the building, in particular for the installation of 4 roof lights, so this is 2 on each side roof slope, widening of a kitchen window on the front elevation, removal of some contrast panels on both side elevations, alterations to the design of a ground floor side sort of glazing block to include a door, and then a minor change to the position of a soil vent pipe. So this is the site plan. So Monkton Road's on the left-hand side. So the bottom of the plan that you can see here is number 46. That's to the west, and 44 is to the east at the top of that image. So you can see there's a garage at the front, and then the property is a sort of long, thin property. So this is a photo of the property when it was under construction. And then this is a photo closer in more recently when the construction has almost been completed. You can't quite see here the ground floor window that's been enlarged, but I'll show you the elevations to show you what's changed on that point. Then starting by looking back towards the road, but we're looking at the western elevation in this instance. So number 46 that's been mentioned is to the left here. So you can see the 1.2 metre boundary fence there that's been referenced. So on this side elevation, as I'll show you in the elevations in a minute, a panel has been removed between the ground and first floor windows. You can see here a door that's in that glazed opening, and a bit of a sort of closer in view of all the openings on that side elevation. And then we're going inside the property. So this is the door. You can see the keys on the door there. So that's the door itself with a view towards the fence. And then this is actually from the upper first floor looking down, so you can see the door in question there in the opening. So on the left-hand side, you can see the approved western elevation. So you can see the contrast panels there. You can see the frames of the glazing here. These are all shown as fixed, so no door opening on that side elevation at ground floor. And then the front elevation on the right-hand side. So if I click on, you can see that the panel has been removed. There is a door in that side elevation. You've got the 2 roof lights that have been mentioned. And then on the front elevation, this window here is ever so slightly increased in width, as you can see. So looking then at the eastern elevation, so this is just showing the side view, so you can see it's quite a narrow gap between the boundary with number 44 and the side elevation of the property. There is a contrast panel that's been removed from this elevation as well. It's a bit will be a bit clearer in the elevations to see where that's gone from. So here's the side elevation facing number 44 on the left-hand side. And then if I click it on, you can see the panel has gone and you've got 2 roof lights there. So this is the internal floor plan at ground floor level. So at the bottom of the image is the western elevation that faces number 46. So you can see where the door is there. And then going up to the first floor, so the photo that we're looking at is from this sort of almost in like an internal walkway that's set away from the side elevations. And you can also see the position of the roof lights in question. You've got, facing number 44, you've got the shower room that's been mentioned, and then you've got a roof light above a bedroom, and then on the western elevation, you've got a roof light above a bedroom there, and a roof light which is above the bathroom. So looking through those, looking at that point about the roof lights themselves, so this was the approved section of the plan, so you can see that the first floor here in sectional form, and you can see the roof form of the pitched roof, and then you can see the Velux roof lights on each side, so that they're at the same level each side and in each roof light as you go through the property in the section. So this shows that to the sill of the roof light, you've got a 1.8 metre height. So in the officer view, you're only able to look up and out rather than look down. So in terms of the idea of overlooking, it doesn't result in overlooking that's of concern. In terms of visiting the property, as mentioned, it has been furnished. The officer has gone out to see the position of the roof lights to check the accuracy of the section. And in going through the actual rooms, it's clear that the views can only be afforded out and up rather than any views down, in terms of what you can see when going through all of the different roof lights. And that's an image just showing where it's actually over the bath as well. So in terms of the door that's been put in to the side, to create an opening at the ground floor on the side, so it's not considered by officers to result in harmful overlooking to create an access at that point. Mention's been made of the separate approval through a condition on the original application for the boundary treatment at a 1.2 metre high level. It is considered that given the accommodation of the fence, you have got landscaping there. It's been mentioned that obviously it's not confirmed that isn't deciduous and wouldn't not be there quite so much in the winter. We don't consider that an opening though on this side elevation is going to create a significant amount of activity to result in significantly harmful overlooking on a regular basis to warrant a refusal on the impact on living conditions. In terms of the roof lights, as shown, it's not considered that they're at a height or a level or relationship with the neighbours that would result in prolonged overlooking at all, especially given the functions of those rooms in question that they're serving. And therefore it is considered that the amendments could be approved without causing harm to both the neighbours and also the character and appearance of the area as well, because that's one of the considerations here. And therefore it's recommended for approval.
Thank you. I move that the officer's recommendation is adopted. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Do I have any speakers? No, I don't have any speakers. In that case, we will put the motion for the officer's recommendation for approval straight to the vote. Those in favour, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. So, moving on to agenda item 5F, which is 4A Broad Street, Ramsgate. Public speaking, speaking under Council Rule 20.1, Councillor Huxley, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, I am a councillor for Eastcliff Ward in Ramsgate, and this planning application is located in my ward. I have called this application in to be heard by the committee because of the following concerns I have about the general overdevelopment of the site. The proposed development is 1 storey too high, as referenced by Ramsgate Town Council's Planning Committee's comments about the application. The proposed mansard roof is higher than the surrounding buildings, and it is not in keeping with the current street scene of the area. The lack of internal space available to cater for 2 separate bin stalls to accommodate both domestic and trade waste for the new flats and the retail unit is a problem. The waste and recycling manager is concerned about there only being one combined trade and domestic waste storage area internally. The lack of space in the service alleyway to bring both the trade and domestic waste bins out from the new development, along with the 2 existing King Street shop trade waste bins already sited there, onto Broad Street so that they can be collected, is a health and safety issue. The alleyway is narrow, and the bottom of the fire escape partly blocks the exit to Broad Street. There are no external fire exits proposed for the 2nd and 3rd floor flats. There is no external space available for children to play or for external refuse storage facilities, clothes drying and cycle storage, given the constrained nature of the site. This goes against Thanet's local plan policy G104 for 2-bedroom units. There is no provision under Thanet's local plan to achieve a high standard of energy efficiency at the development. Level 4 code for sustainable homes or to make best use of solar energy, such as the installation of solar panels on the roof. In addition, the type of heating to be installed in the flats is not specified. Government legislation now recommends electric heating for this type of development. There is no disabled access above ground floor level. So in conclusion, members, given the objections I have just told you about, I would like to ask you the committee to refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now ask the Principal Planning Officer to outline the report.
Thank you, Chair. This is the site here outlined in red. So we've got Turner Street running along in this direction here, and then Broad Street running along in this direction here. And then this is the application site in this location here, so on the corner of Turner Street and Broad Street. And then this is a view of it from Broad Street looking towards the site. So the application site is the area within the single-storey element that you can see. So it's like an L shape, and it also includes this rear section here. So it's this square. So it doesn't include this corner or this part of the development. And then this is just it from looking towards the side. So this is again Broad Street in this location here. So this is the front of the building, and again just showing you the single-storey element here and here, which is being removed, and a new building erected in this location. So this is it from looking at Broad Street towards the application site. So the site is this single-storey element here, which currently contains retail units. And then this is a view of it again in this location. So you can see in terms of the actual existing building, it's not particularly traditional in terms of its shop front. There's no original shop fronts within the building. So in terms of actual loss of this building for demolition, the site is within the conservation area, but it's not considered that the building is of particular significance that would warrant retention within the conservation area. And then this is just showing the gap. So there's currently a gap between the side elevation of the existing building and the corner building, and this provides a sort of some rear access between the buildings. And you can see in this location here some existing air conditioning units, which I'll come on to later. And then this is just showing again that space in between. So this isn't part of the application site. This is just showing the gap between the two. Within the development, there are some windows proposed that look onto this space. So that's just the relevance of this photo. This is now in Turner Street. So this is now round the corner. Again, this elevation isn't being affected by the proposal, but just showing the rest of the building as you come around that corner. And then there's just a few photos just so you can see in terms of the character of the conservation area that there's a real mix in terms of building heights and design. So you can see this is, again, the application site is just off to the left here. And again, you can see jumps in building heights on the corner here as you approach the High Street area. Then this is just some views looking down the street. So the application site is on the left-hand side here. So you can see the existing building on the corner currently has a mansard, a pitch roof within that space, which raises above the parapet wall. And then this is just showing it from the other direction of Broad Street, looking again towards the application site in this location here. And then this is a further back view. So again, you can see that in terms of the corner building, just for reference, later on when you see the elevations, you can see the pitched roof above the building, but as you get closer, it's very difficult to see what's above at roof level. And then this is just a view now from Turner Street looking towards it. So the application site is just off to the corner, off to the left here. So again, you can just about see the ridge height of the above the roof here. And then again, just showing a few photos of the surrounding area. So again, just different roof styles in the immediate surrounding roads, different heights of roofs you can see in terms of jumping around in terms of the roofscape within the conservation area. And again here. So so the proposal is, as I showed you, this area here. So it's for the demolition of the existing retail units and for the erection of a 3-storey building with a mansard roof above to provide 2 3-bed flats and 1 2-bed flat with commercial space at ground floor level. So this is the existing elevation. Again, this is the single-storey shop fronts that you saw in that photo. So this area is set back further. So this is just the existing single-storey. And then this is the proposal. So the proposal is to provide a new shop front. The shop front is quite traditional in its design. It's a timber-framed shop front. It's provided with store risers and a recessed door within the centre, and so really trying to sort of bring back a traditional shopfront design to that elevation, where there currently isn't a very traditional design in that location. Then above you can see is the additional 2 floors of residential accommodation with sliding sash windows. So this would be built in brick, red brick with a slate roof and lead sided dormers, and the windows would be aluminium and sliding sashes with, as you can see, like brick detailing above the windows. So the concern that's been raised, one of the concerns raised, is to do with the height of the building. So you can see in terms of the corner building, the parapet does rise slightly above the parapet of the corner building. You can see just on the left-hand side here, the flat roof of the neighbouring building on the corner. In terms of the height differences, so 18 King Street, which is in this location here, is 9.4 metres high. On the corner, it's 11 metres up to the ridge, and then this proposal was for 12.2, so it's 1.2 metres higher than the ridge in this location here. And you can see it is a mansard design with small dormers set within the roof space. And then from the side view, so this is the side view from Broad Street, if you're approaching from the building on the corner of King Street, this is the side elevation there. So you would have some windows within that side elevation facing that sort of access way between the 2 properties. And again, you can see the mansard roof at roof level with a gable element or parapet element at the rear here. And then this is the view from Turner Street. So this is the elevation that's not changing, but you can just see the height of the mansard roof above it. So in terms of these elevations, I mean, this elevation looks quite high with this parapet at this point here, but you wouldn't really get a view of this element from the street. This rear section, this is quite a narrow street here, so looking up, you can't see these pitched roofs from Turner Street looking up. And then from those photos that I showed you, you wouldn't really get a sense of that rear section. So you will see this front section, and I'll just show you another photo, just seeing how that would look. So this view is showing, so you can see the existing corner building here with that mansard. So that's, that pitched roof, and then that's that pitched roof in that location here. So again, from that view, it looks quite small. Obviously in plan form, it's much taller because of the perception of looking up. So in terms of this mansard roof behind it, this was 1.2 metres higher. So you can see it starts at the same point, but there's a slightly different sort of pitch to that roof. So it will come slightly forward of the neighbouring roof's pitch, and it will raise to a higher point. So potentially sort of this location here, you will see that ridge line of the mansard above the roof. But the question is whether that in itself is harmful enough to warrant refusal of the application. obviously the existing shop fronts and single story element is not considered to be significantly interesting within the street elevation. The demolition of that and the erection of a new building with sliding sash windows and a very traditional shop front is considered to potentially enhance the appearance of this site from the street scene. Within Ramsgate, everything is quite sort of tight. There's not usually a large gap like this between buildings. You would expect them more to be terraced properties, so you would expect more of a street form with a active frontage onto the street. So that in itself is potentially a benefit, and that has to be outweighed against the harm of having this additional height and what actual views you would get of that from sort of these streets looking up at the building. So in terms of just the sections then, so this section is from the rear, so this would be the parapet that's at the rear of the property. So again, you wouldn't really see this element from any of the surrounding streets, it's more the front of the building that you would see. And then this is just a section showing the mansard and the size of the dormer windows against the surrounding roof and the surrounding pitch. So you can see again the difference in the height of that versus the building on the corner. And then this is an elevation, section plan of that form as well. So in terms of the actual floor plans, the left-hand side is the existing. So you can see the existing retail units and the existing shop front. The right-hand side, you can see the new shop front design that's being created with the recessed doors at the centre of that area. Bins were mentioned, so you can see on this plan that there is an area for waste and recycling in this location here. So, and that would be accessed from that side alleyway, and also could be accessed from the common staircase in the centre here that would access the residential units. So the comment from waste and recycling was about having a separate waste and recycling area for residential and the commercial use. It's just very difficult within the town centres where there's really restricted external space to be able to achieve things like that, and given the fact that that is an area at the back that can clearly occupy a large number of bins, it's not considered that there would really be any harm in having one area that would serve potentially the retail unit as well as the residential units above, and these can be accessed from that alleyway and then collected from the street. So I think Waste and Recycling said they wouldn't collect from this area, but they would have to pull those bins out to the pavement in this location here on collection day, and it's not considered really that really should be any issue for future occupiers. So in terms of the first floor plan, the left-hand side here, you can see this is the roof of the existing flat roof and the existing stairwell that's currently there. And then this is the proposed floor plan. So it's a 3-bed residential unit at first floor level. So you can see a lounge in this location here, a bedroom on the corner, and 2 bedrooms set further back with the bathroom. So all of the units meet the nationally described space standards. Whilst we would normally encourage some doorstep play space for units that are 3-bed or 2-bed or 3-bed, it's very difficult to usually achieve that in the town centre, so we do have some flexibility for that where there's not much external space. So this is the second floor plan, so again currently nothing there, and then again they're proposing the 3-bed unit, same as the first floor, and then within the mansard this is now a 2-bed unit. You can see the dormers at the front here and then the few dormers in the side as well. And then this is just a roof plan showing how it will be pitched to all sides with the flat roof at the top. So in terms of impact on neighbours, it's not really considered there would be any real issues with neighbours. All of the walls that the building adjoins onto don't have any windows. There's a few windows within the rear elevation of the King Street building, but these we understand to serve commercial use, so there wouldn't be any concerns there. Those air conditioning units that you saw within the photos, which are located on this wall, some concern has been raised from environmental health about that, because if the bedroom windows are located on the side elevation facing those air conditioning units, there's the potential for future concerns and complaints being raised about the air conditioning units. So there is a condition proposed about looking at the acoustic arrangement of those windows and making sure that they're designed in a way that wouldn't be impacted by the air conditioning units. In terms of conservation, the conservation officers raised no concerns with the proposed design, and again, as mentioned, there's potentially an enhancement taking place, and has recommended conditions to do with joinery details, the shop front to make sure we get a really good design in this location. The site's in the town centre, so obviously previously developed land in terms of actual principle of development. We're achieving 3 residential units, which is a benefit on previously developed land, and that needs to be given some weight. It's a highly sustainable location, so there's no provision of parking, but obviously right in the town centre, that's not really a concern. And we are looking to secure the SPA contribution for the units as well, and so therefore it is recommended to be deferred and delegated for the submission of the legal agreement to secure that, and it's subject to that. It's considered it should be considered acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. I move that the officer's recommendation is adopted. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Seconded.
And Councillor Bayford.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, in my view, the proposed development will do nothing but enhance the street scene, improving the retail unit and providing much needed living accommodation, so I'm very happy to support it. Thank you.
Councillor Alban.
Thank you, Chair. I don't disagree with Councillor Bayford, what she's just said. The removal of the current development there is not a problem, except for the actual people who are operating the shops. I don't know what's going to happen to them, but I take that's not a planning issue. We can't deal with that. But that is a worry as to whether they will be able to go back in here should they wish to do so. The design is great in comparison to what's there. It fits in there well. I did have a bit of an issue with the height of the building. I wasn't sure about the mansard there, whether it should be another floor lower than mansard. However, but I think that's probably a minor issue in relation to this. I've take on board. I just wanted some questions that Councillor Huxley has raised in relation to one. Is there a fire exit for the flat in the mansard? How does that dealt with, or is that just dealt with under the building regulations? And this might come under the building regulations, but does disabled access have to be put into the development or not, as the case may be? And I take it really that that the staircase coming down the side into the side alleyway can be accessed from the first and second floor, except for the mansard. So I'm not quite sure how that works out. So if you could answer those for me, I'll be very grateful. Thank you.
Sorry, do you mean the staircase in this location here? Are you talking about that one? Yeah. So that one is a staircase for the development at the rear, and then would just run next to. I mean, by the time it gets to this part here, it would just basically be almost single-story height. So that's just going to be against the side elevation of the retail unit. So I don't think there's any concerns with obstructing that. I don't know if that's what you meant in terms of the access. But in terms of the residential units, I mean, yeah, most of that is covered by building regs. I believe they usually only ask for disabled access for commercial, like non-residential units. So, I mean, there wouldn't be a requirement, otherwise I'd have to put a lift in every flat development, and that's obviously not proposed here. In terms of the fire escape, I mean, the only staircase that's proposed is in this central area here, so there isn't a fire escape for these units. They've just got the central staircase. Again, that would come under building regs if they require it. I mean, again, I don't know what the answer is. I presume it's a particular height, maybe gets it possibly, not sure.
Yeah, I think Councillor Mankins is going to come in possibly on that point. I mean, in terms of when you're above first floor level, it's usually the aim is to ensure that there is the ability for people to get out of a unit. It is entirely covered by building regs, so it's not a planning consideration. But indeed, if absolutely necessary, they would obviously have to put a sprinkler system in on the top floor. But obviously that communal staircase will need sufficient fire protection as well, because it is the only method that you get up there.
Thank you. Sorry, Pat, I'm just coming back. Just the other thing, really, I think in relation to the bin stores and how their waste is dealt with, I think that is that is a problem. We have enough problems in Ramsgate because of the tightness of the roads, etc., with people where they put their rubbish out, etc. You know, where they're going to put these inside that alleyway. You know, they're going to bring them out. They're going to stick them on Broad Street. I don't know. But that's perhaps something else to be managed by the owners. I take it to be. But there should be separate waste for the occupiers of the shop or offices or whatever that they may be. Actually, can you just advise, is that supposed to be shops or is that supposed to be offices? Just as a... Does it say?
Sorry, Councillor, in terms of the ground floor of what's been proposed, yes. I think it stands to see an E-use class, so it could be a commercial office or it could be retail. I think that's the thing. So just to clarify a couple of points on this, because so you can see Emma's put up the photo for the existing. Obviously, you can see the commercial waste from both the building to the left and the right. I think if I just skip to the ground floor plan, whilst the waste and recycling team have commented that there's concern about it being used as a joint commercial and residential bin store, I don't think there's any suggestion that it's going to be for commercial bin store. There's no direct access to it. If you look at the retail unit on that ground floor plan on the right-hand side, there's no access from that unit into that area. So yes, there might be access if you go round the property and through that door, but actually it indicates from this that actually all those bins are there for the actual combination of the existing flat that's there, that will still be there, and then the three new flats. Obviously, I don't need to tell Councillor Orban about commercial waste being dealt with separately, but obviously, as Emma outlined in the presentation, you know, it is an expectation that the residents would have to take their bins onto the road on collection day. It is very difficult in the town centres to do anything other than what they have done, and overall, the fact that you're providing additional residential units in an area which we want to see more residential units, you are going to have this tension, but they have provided an area which primarily internally is for residential units.
Chair, if I could just say, on collection day, should this be approved, I'm going to go down there and watch the fun of them trying to get their bins in and around the big, large commercial waste bins. That should be fun. Thank you.
Councillor Makinson.
Thank you. A couple of points. First of all, the staircase, which obviously would be fireproof, but when you get to the ground floor, there are actually two ways out, one through the bin store and one to Turner Street, which I think probably helps, not that it's a planning matter. As for commercial bins, because I live in a shop or above a shop on the high street, commercial bin collection is done about 4 o'clock in the morning, which I can hear, which is why the bins are out there, so the bin men can go in and get them. But the domestic would be different. But one of my points is that that the rhythm of the street, I think, will be better with 2 shop fronts rather than 1. It's a very wide shop front, and it may not be. I think it's quite wide. I think the rhythm would be better with 2 shop fronts, but that's just my opinion, which may not be relevant. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Wing.
Oh, all things rubbish in Ramsgate, thank you, Chair. I mean, what really annoys me about the rubbish is that we've already got a development on Harbour Street where rubbish was dealt with through planning and bags are just dumped at the bottom of Harbour Street now, and apparently that's okay. Seagulls and the foxes love it, and it's an absolutely devastating impact on the rest of everybody else. So I don't think, I think there's a floor too many. I think the bit at the top it's not in keeping with everything else, because there are other roofs that are slightly lower than that, but none of them are lived in. So we're making an exception with this building and actually adding something that doesn't really exist on the street. I do think it's an improvement on that gap. I actually think the shop front, it's nice to see a shop front that's maybe taking notice of the new policy that we have, which is good news. But I just know that the rubbish is going to be a really, really terrible situation. And it's even worse that it's wheelie bins, because I'm not sure how wide Broad Street is. Broad Street's one way, isn't it, I think? So that is an advantage, that traffic's only coming one way. So if you have to not go on the pavement on a Monday because the bins are out all day and they've been collected in the morning, or they're not going to be collected till the afternoon, and the recycling on top of that, you've only got to look one way to be splattered by a car because you can't use the pavement because the bins are there. So, we've got to find better ways of dealing with our waste, because our town centre in particular, in Central Harbour and Eastcliff, is being absolutely blighted by rubbish, and we don't seem to be able to get on top of it. And the more and more buildings that go in there, and we don't have solutions for the rubbish, and the developers are not helping us find those solutions, it's just going to get worse. So I won't be supporting it based on the roof up there, and I don't think we've adequately dealt with the rubbish scenario, which will be blighting. It will have an impact on neighbours, other businesses and other people that live in the town centre.
Councillor Matterface.
Was mention of the windows on the side, which are going to be right opposite air conditioning units. Are those windows designed to be closed windows so they can't be open? Because I'm just thinking, who'd want to be living with that constant thrum from somebody else's air conditioning coming? So are there going to be windows that can't be opened, and is that there for any kind of fire risk for the people in there? Or do you know if they are opening?
I don't have details about whether it's currently proposed to be opening or not, but I'm just looking at the condition that's proposed, which is condition 6, which is the condition recommended by Environmental Health, which is to do with them having to submit an acoustic design statement. And in looking at that, they need to look at the, in order to make sure they don't cause a problem for the neighbouring commercial use, they need to consider that in that acoustic design statement, and that therefore may well result in them having to potentially have fixed windows with air conditioning maybe, or particular levels of double glazing. So that will have to come through that submission, and like I said, we'll have to make sure that they don't then result in complaints to the environmental health from the impact from those air conditioning units, because they were obviously there first before these windows, and so that's the reason behind that condition.
I'm back on that, because condition 6 refers to consideration of the agent of change principle in relation. Could you tell me what agent of change principle is?
Well, that's basically the point I was just making. So it's in the MPPF that if a business is already there, then if something else comes along, it can't impact on that business and put extra restrictions on it because of that coming forward later on. So that's what that is, that they need to make sure that anything that they do won't result in complaints for the existing neighbouring commercial development.
thank you for expanding. I mean, I understood the point, but I just want a little bit more.
Okay, do I have any other speakers? In which case, we will now put the motion for the officer's recommendation to defer and delegate to the vote. Would those in favour please vote?
On balance, yeah.
And those against?
Sorry, can we have that? Some wavering hands.
Sorry, apparently hands weren't all up and some were wavering a little bit, so can we do that?
3, 4, 5.
The vote in favour again, please. And those against?
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's carried. Right, thank you. So that concludes the public speaking for this meeting. I will now call upon the clerk to read out the remaining planning applications. If any member wishes to reserve an application, will they please call out as the clerk reads?
Thank you, Chair. So the remaining applications are AO2, 61 Victoria Road, Margate, AO3, Margate, Harbour Arms, Stone Pier, Margate, and AO4, Margate, Harbour Arm, Stone Pier, Margate again. Thank you very much.
Can I have a proposer to move that the applications that have not been reserved be determined in accordance with the officer's recommendation? Councillor Alban, and seconded by Councillor Rozecki. Thank you. Do members agree? Agree. Thank you. So for the benefit of the public, I will call upon the clerk to read out the applications that have been determined.
Thank you again, Chair. So the applications that have been determined are AO2, 61 Victoria Road, Margate, AO3, Margate, Harbour Arms, Stone Pier, Margate, and AO4, also Margate, Harbour Arms, Stone Pier, Margate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes the business for this meeting. Thank you for your attendance and good night. An early finish for once.